$187.16. Money you do not have to pay. It is paid for by your government. You must take time to visit one of these new centers. See the computers for the 3- and the 4-year-olds, the special furniture, the state-of-the-art learning materials, and the teachers with degrees in early childhood education. Teacher Tiny must be laughing and turning in her grave. Look where preschool education reached. Milestone number 2, primary education. The goal here is universal access for all. More than 98% of all children over 5 years can access a primary school. You will appreciate that this achievement means that when you consider that there are countries in this very region where less than 50% of primary school-age children are in school, or if you consider that the average for Latin America and the Caribbean is less than 74%. In some parts of the world, it's as low as 25%. And to ensure access, or to ensure that access is not denied because parents can't afford books or lunch or transport, your government provides this free of charge to all in need. 19 million was spent in 2008 to provide textbooks to students of primary schools alone. 115,000 lunches and more than 54,000 breakfast meals are provided every day at a cost of $215 million per year. In 2008, the ministry spent $49 million to pay for buses and maxis. And what is all of this to you? If your primary school child was receiving school meals, getting school transport and books, this means $4,800 per year that you do not have to spend. Multiply that by each child you have. Multiply that by every child you know. And so, ladies and gentlemen, phase 1 of the computerization of primary schools is complete, and phase 2 will start in the next fiscal year. To prepare these schools, adding rooms and upgrading electrical costs $32 million, and the labs themselves cost another $30 million. Ladies and gentlemen, we know our schools are old. And if we are to provide quality environments, we have to build new schools and maintain until such time as we build. In 2008, we spent some $192 million to repair 98 schools. You think school repair is easy? You know these fellas, they have repairing your kitchen. They say they're doing it in 2 weeks. And after 2 months, you feel they're moving. They ain't gone yet. Sometimes I swear it's the same fellas who doing these school repairs. And they come properly qualified, you know. Here's some of you. All you have to do is take off the roof, take off the floor, and put in a new one. What I don't know is when you take off the old roof, you take off the old floor, everything else under there rotten. And you have to change everything, and that is what takes time. But that's the way it is. Repairing schools, not easy. But over time, this old stock will be replaced with newer, stronger structures built for a modern education system. As we speak, there are 19 primary schools under construction, including one right here in Arima, and tenders are being considered at this time for another 20, some of which will begin construction this year. Modern, spacious rooms for staff and students, pan theaters to accommodate the pan in the classroom projects, cafeterias, libraries, and computer labs, accessible to children of all physical abilities. So now we are working to improve quality in the schools. The national test has been revised to help with our assessment of where the students are at different points and what teachers need to do to help them achieve. A literacy and remediation unit focusing on low achiever at SEA has begun to impact. And we are seeing a steady decline in the figures for the low performers, and we expect even better results in 2010 as a result of a special focus on low-performing school kicks in. Milestone number 3 relates to secondary education and the education of youth and adults. Trinidad and Tobago achieved universal secondary education in the year 2000. Still, we have students who are challenged by the academics, and so our response has been to widen the curriculum to introduce technical and vocational subjects with a Caribbean standard of certification. 64 schools offer the CVQ, as it is called, and 900 have been assessed at level 1, and to date, 220 level 1 CVQs, I should say, have been awarded. Now the technically inclined student can gain an equally recognized certificate that can either prepare for the world of work or tertiary level study at the technical level. In 2004, the highly successful CAPE examinations replaced the GCE A-level. And you should know that Trinidad and Tobago students outperform CSTEC and CAPE students doing the same examinations every year in the Caribbean region. Visual and performing arts has been introduced as a core subjects in forms 1 to 3, and we have begun to award open and additional scholarships after the CAPE exams in this area as well, and to offer some 224 scholarships annually. Not too long ago, I heard someone say that Trinidad and Tobago is the only country in the world where more than 50% of the population has already been on stage for one reason or another. And that is the relevance of the visual and performing arts, ladies and gentlemen. But, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps the most exciting thing from the point of view of quality access to secondary education has been the de-shifting of the junior secondary schools to provide full-day teaching to all students. A project which began in 1988, and for 10 years, only 2 schools were de-shifted. 19 schools in the last 10 years we saw were de-shifted between, I should say, 2003 and 2008. And we completed the de-shifting just last year. On the quality side, a national certificate of secondary education has been introduced to address skills and competencies as well as students' social, emotional, and spiritual development. But ladies and gentlemen, we also have milestones relating to our teachers, the good people who work so hard to maintain a quality education system, because we believe that the most important interactions in the education system is the one between teacher and student. Our expenditure on some 14,000 teachers' salaries and benefits amounted to just under $944 million last year alone. Without doubt, Trinidad and Tobago teachers are the best paid in this region and do better than those in many Commonwealth countries. The ministry has instituted comprehensive reforms in teacher education, which again were informed by our Vision 2020. And furthermore, the incorporation of the Valsayn and Corinth Teachers Colleges into the University of the West Indies, I should say the University of Trinidad and Tobago, has created a significant development in teacher education. The rollout of this policy has already resulted in the provision of 660 full scholarships in the Bachelor's in Education program at UTT since 2006. 571 teachers are expected to graduate in 2010, an additional 89 in 2011. Recently, another 160 student teachers were enrolled. As a matter of fact, every available space for teacher training at UWI, UTT, and the University of the Southern Caribbean is taken by teachers readying for roles in the nation's schools. We are also putting in place a quality assurance system and accountability measures to make teachers more responsible for the impact they have on student learning and student achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll be pleased to know this, because